Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are looking at something that literally affects every single one of us every single day. We're going to unpack 9 seemingly harmless daily habits that you probably do without even thinking about them. But here's the kicker. These habits don't just affect our mood or make us feel a little sluggish. They actually physically harm our brain tissue. Once you see what's happening inside your head, you'll realize you have the absolute power to change it. Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to take a quick second and really reflect on your own morning routine, your evening wind down, and how you spend your free time. Are those routines building your brain up, or are they quietly tearing it down? We're talking about some very serious stakes here when it comes to cognitive decline, and it all starts with the small things we do every single day. Now, right off the bat, I want to make a really crucial distinction. When we talk about bad habits, we usually talk about mental well-being, right? Feeling sad, stressed, or burnt out. But what this source material reveals is that we aren't just talking about your feelings here. We are talking about actual structural damage to your physical brain tissue. This kind of physical degradation makes you far more susceptible to severe cognitive conditions later in life, like dementia and Alzheimer's disease. To make all this information incredibly easy to digest, we've organized these 9 habits into 3 core lifestyle buckets. We'll cover the hidden brain drain, digital and sensory overload, and starving your mind, followed by movement, sleep, and environment, before finally discussing how to actually reclaim your cognitive health. All right, section 1, the hidden brain drain. We really need to uncover the physical stakes of our daily routines. The consequences of letting damaged brain tissue go unchecked are, quite frankly, severe. We aren't just trying to optimize our productivity here. We're trying to prevent early cognitive decline and an increased susceptibility to dementia and Alzheimer's disease. Establishing these stakes is vital because it highlights exactly why it matters so much that we identify and stop these everyday habits immediately. It's all about protecting your future self. Moving into section 2, digital and sensory overload, and how modern media actually impacts our biology. Habit number 1 is way too much screen time. Look, we all know spending hours doom scrolling on the internet and social media is bad for our mental health, but get this, it physically damages the gray and white matter in your frontal lobe. That's the area of your brain specifically responsible for processing and higher order thinking. You are essentially eroding your brain's processing center. Now, obviously, we can't completely avoid technology, but this is a massive reminder to consciously moderate our screen time. And this brilliantly illustrates our next habit, consuming too much negative news. Psychotherapist Annie Miller points out that over-consuming negative media pushes our nervous system into a continuous, damaging state of panic. It literally triggers your fight or flight response. Your brain just isn't built to be in survival mode 24/7, and staying in that state takes a massive physical toll on your cognitive health. The last habit in our sensory overload bucket is blasting your headphones. I know it feels incredibly convenient and relaxing to drown out the world, but it creates a really dangerous biological domino effect. Step 1, you blast the loud music. Step 2, over time this naturally leads to hearing loss. And step 3, which is the hidden, long-term cognitive toll, is that hearing loss directly correlates to memory impairment down the line. So what feels good for your ears today is actively harming your memory tomorrow. Okay, section 3, starving your mind. Let's look at the chemical imbalances caused by poor diets. Let's talk about sugar. After a long, really stressful day, craving a candy bar or a soda is totally normal. Why? Well, craving sugar is actually your brain's biological way of responding to stress. But here's the problem. Based on findings from PharmaWeb, taking in too much sugar creates a huge imbalance of nutrients in the body. While it feels like stress relief in the moment, it's actually causing your brain to become malnourished. You are literally starving it of the actual vital nutrients it needs to repair itself. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this fascinating number, 8 hours. When you go to sleep, your body goes approximately 8 entire hours without food. I want you to kind of personify your brain for a second here. It's been working so hard, repairing itself all night, fasting for an entire third of the day, and it wakes up desperately waiting for breakfast to refuel. And that long fast leads right into another terrible habit, skipping breakfast. Whether you're rushing out the door or you just don't feel hungry, ignoring that morning hunger is highly destructive. Because of that 8-hour gap we just talked about, taking a pass on breakfast completely deprives your brain of the energy and nutrition it lost during the night. It completely prevents your brain from functioning at its absolute best and leads right back to that dangerous state of malnourishment. Moving into Section 4, movement, sleep, and environment, the critical need for oxygenation and rest. Now, this is perhaps one of the most shocking revelations from the source material. We often think of social isolation as just a sad emotional state, But a 2012 study from Ohio State University proves that chronic social stress, like isolating yourself from social events, causes severe stress responses in the brain. It's a neurological risk factor that physically makes you more susceptible to strokes, meaning loneliness is an absolute danger to your physical brain tissue. Wild, right? So let's walk you through a healthy daily timeline, contrasting it against 3 more extremely damaging habits. Okay, at 8 a.m., you need natural sunlight. Staying in the dark during the day means your brain just doesn't know when to release melatonin later, which leaves you totally sleep deprived. At 2 p.m., you need to exercise. Being completely sedentary deprives you of oxygen. And finally, at 11 p.m., when you sleep, make sure you don't sleep with the covers pulled way over your head. I know it's cozy, but it completely disrupts the oxygen flow between your brain and body. To quickly summarize the biological mechanisms here, if you sit in absolute darkness all day, you actively prevent the release of sleep hormones, and that leads directly to depression and sleep deprivation. And if you barely move, well, according to Brock Armstrong from Scientific American, exercise oxygenates the brain and releases growth-promoting hormones. So by actively avoiding exercise, you are essentially stunting your brain development and starving it of the oxygen it so desperately needs. And finally, let's talk about sleep habits. Whether you're sleeping way too much or far too little, poor sleeping habits force your brain to function in ways it's simply not used to. Sleep deprivation isn't just about feeling tired, it is a direct attack on your long-term memory. It physically impairs the brain's ability to actually store and recall information. So, the crucial point is this brings us to Section 5, reclaiming your cognitive health, because awareness really is the first step to prevention. Let's rapidly recap the 9 habits we've covered today to really cement them in your mind. Number 1, staying in the dark. 2, consuming too much negative news. 3, blasting your headphones. 4, social isolation. 5, excessive screen time. 6, eating way too much sugar. 7, skipping breakfast. 8, barely moving. And 9, having poor sleep habits. Look, let's be honest, these habits are incredibly common. Almost everyone does at least a few of them on a daily basis. But recognizing these habits early and actively working to change them will absolutely help you minimize the risk of damaging your physical brain tissue. You have the power to protect your cognitive health, prevent malnourishment, and keep your brain's physical structure incredibly strong just by making some small conscious tweaks to your daily routine. I want to leave you with this final provocative question. Which habit will you change today? Don't try to fix all 9 overnight. That's impossible. Pick just one. Start there and give your brain the healthy environment it needs to actually thrive. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope you found it as fascinating and empowering as I did, and I highly encourage you to take immediate action on what we learned today. Catch you next time.